Greetings, everybody. Welcome to Behind the Veil. This is Stephen Williams. They call me the good bishop, and ain't nobody really good but God. But I thank God we all striving, trying to be good with him. Listen, I am excited tonight to have you be on my podcast. It is going to be so much fun tonight. It is going to be so enlightening. Please get your friends, get your neighbors, tell everybody, come on in. And we're going to have a wonderful, wonderful time. I have a marvelous guest tonight. And I was getting ready to laugh about what his last name is, but I ain't going to do that because I don't need no letters sent to me. Hey, my sister, the good sister is on here. She hangs out with me all the time. Listen, tell everybody about this. This is going to be talking about the culture of the black man. This is about to get interesting. It's about to be fun, enlightening. Theo is going to help us maneuver and shake and all that good stuff. It's going to be fun. But y'all know how we do. Hey, Charlene, before we get into it, I got to play my song of the week. Y'all not going to believe this. Listen, one of the songs I started singing back in 1994, about 86, 87. But my first actual recording, I found my first recording, and I can't wait. Bishop Scott, hey, I can't wait to share with you tonight the song. This was on my very first project. And I'm not going to play the Turn It Over tune until next week, but we're going to play the other song that we have tonight. It's called Heaven. And this is the very first tune, very first 4-track that I did. And it's coming off of the Determined CD. It is not, this is before there was Amazon and iTunes and Apple. Theo, you don't know nothing about this. This one was on a cassette tape. You don't know nothing about none of that. It was on a cassette tape. And that's the only way you could do it. And you had to go to mom and pop store to get this. And so if you want any of this music right here, you're going to have to shoot a brother an email and a Cash App, because you ain't going to be able to get this one nowhere else. Now, I might need to send it on iTunes. I may need to just put it out there and repurpose it. Listen, this is going to be fun. I want you to enjoy this. This is one of my first songs, one of the first things around this area. Actually, it's a song that is enjoyed also by Chris Paul. We pulling for you tonight, sir. We want you to do better. Y'all win the Suns, and then we can have a game number 7. And so everybody, this is a song called Heaven by my very first group and my very first recording. So all you musicians out there, don't be laughing. In Jesus' name, amen. Here we go. No sorrow there, just happiness. There is so much peace, and a place where you can finally rest. The choir sings, and the music dies. And the praise is going forth to the King, morning, noon, and night. Angels bow down, right there at his feet, and they are singing, holy, holy. About heaven. Hey, Tasha. Forevermore, I'm talking about heaven. Where the streets are paved with gold. Heaven. Oh, the happy heaven. Said, look, boy, you must live right. Hey, Cynthia.
Oh, what a wonderful change. In the moment of a twinkling of an eye. Never be with you. And be at peace. Oh, don't get about it. It's the place where I'm living for. I'm talking about heaven. To live forevermore. I'm talking about heaven. Where the streets are paved with gold. Nowhere else but heaven. And the have never been told. Heaven, this is the place where you have 12 gates in the city, 3 in the east, in the north, and in the south, and in the west. Heaven, you've got 24 elders in the city, and Jesus is sitting at the right hand of the Father up in heaven. You've got walls filled with rubies and diamonds and pearls. Oh, there's gold on the street up there in heaven. Oh, there's so much joy and peace and happiness. I'm telling you, it's a beautiful place. Heaven, that's where I wanna be. Oh, I can't stop till I get there. Heaven, that's where I wanna be. Heaven. Oh, I'm talking about heaven. Heaven, that's where I gotta get there. I gotta keep on running. I gotta keep on pressing. I wanna get to heaven. That's where I wanna be. Oh, I'm talking about heaven. It's the place that I'm living for. I'm talking about heaven. To live. I can't wait to see you face to face in heaven. My Savior is there. When the streets are paved with gold in heaven. And I want you to know, everything's never been told. I can't wait to get there. Said I can't wait to get there. I just want to get to heaven. I've got to make it to heaven. I just want to be right there. I just got to get there to heaven. I'm going to see Jesus face to face.
What you say? Y'all don't know nothing about that. Y'all want a house and a car and a land. Y'all don't want heaven. I want heaven. Heaven is what I'm living for. Y'all, that was back in 1990 something, man. 94, 95 is when we found this. Man, it is absolute. That's my first CD. That's my first. It wasn't even no CD back then. It was just my first album. That's what we used to have, an album. Listen, I am so happy. I love it. That COVID is here. Listen, this is going to be such a wonderful, wonderful night. Thank you so much for joining us for Behind the Veil. Listen, I need you to do me a favor, though. Again, to everybody, welcome to Behind the Veil. Stephen Williams here. They call me the good bishop, and ain't nobody really good but God. And so we thank God for that. I need you to go to YouTube and subscribe. Please subscribe to Behind the Veil YouTube channel. What's happening is that we may or may not be on this platform with Facebook. We're not sure. So much is going on and so many things are changing. And I want to make sure that you can get access to Behind the Veil. So just go on over there to Behind the Veil and hit the click button and get on to the YouTube channel of Behind the Veil YouTube channel so that you can have access. Hit the notification, hit the bell, all that good stuff, subscribe, all that good stuff. And then we may be all over there. You just never know. So you be looking for us on the book over here, and we'll be at our other sister church over there at the U and the Tubes. All right. So please, please, ma'am, and please, sir, y'all do that now. You're here. You don't want to miss out. Listen, I have an excellent guest tonight, and we have a powerful subject. And I want to come on to answer this question to all of my listeners, and I want you to get your questions ready. Here is the big question. We are Black America. All right. So the question on the floor is, what is the culture of the Black man? Because we are on both spectrums. We change culture. We create the culture. We create the music, the athletic stuff. We dress what we're looking for. But the real question is, what is the culture? Because we have people who are wealthy and we have people who will rob you. And all of it is right here in this same culture. And so tonight, my guest, I guess he want me to say his real name, Theo Chunn. I hope I got that right. Chunn is a native of Salisbury, North Carolina. He earned a Bachelor's of Arts degree in Mass Communication from Winston-Salem State University, SU to the Rams. Yes, thank you, Jesus. Amen. Lord is blessing. And a Master's of Science in Higher Education at Walden University. And so he lives with the passion to motivate youth and professionals to be powerful and productive citizens. It is his desire to encourage others to have a meaningful impact on how to perform academically, socially, and professionally. He has been a motivational speaker since 2007. In 2009, he expanded his vision to create TCJ Motivations Incorporated. Through his nonprofit, he has motivated professional organizations, colleagues, and high school students around the country. He is an award-winning author of a book entitled, and we're going to talk a little bit about this tonight, because I think it is a powerful title, The Power in Your Posture. Hallelujah. He said something. That's my first hallelujah on the Behind the Veil, because he said something that, if you asking for something, you have to make sure your posture match your request. But we're going to talk about that a little bit later. All right. He is married to the beautiful Evelyn Michelle, who I used to know, and she used to talk to me, and then she started having all them babies and got married and stuff, and so she threw the good bishop to the curve. Amen. I know you're on here, and I'm gonna let everybody know you ain't doing me right. Amen. But I love you. I love you. Still love you. Amen. She got married and started having children. And so they have two daughters, Graceland Elizabeth and Savannah Michelle. And then they have a son, Theodis Trey the third. And so he lives and walks by the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. What a powerful way for you all, for him to be measured by. Listen, welcome to the stage, if you will. And he is Mr. Ram. He's a former Mr. Ram, 2007, 8, 2008?
2008, 2009.
2008, 2009. And for those old heads, y'all know I'm like 97, 98. He is Mr. Ram, Mr. Winston-Salem State. They wouldn't let me be Mr. Winston-Salem State. They just let me be Mr. Ram. They wouldn't want me to represent the whole university. I could just be Mr. Ram. And so not only are we Rams tonight, but we're also men who love motivating men. And so welcome, sir. Thank you for coming to Behind the Veil. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing good, Bishop. I'm so excited to be here. Excited to be with royalty might I add.
I love it. Listen, we got to jump right in. We got to jump in. So, tell me about your journey. You come from Salisbury, North Carolina, and you you choose Winston-Salem State. Is that a place that you wanted to focus on, or how did you get to SU? And I'll tell you my story after you tell us yours.
So originally I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas, well, Brinkley, Arkansas, and my mother drove the car all the way to North Carolina because she had a job opportunity, and my sister at the time wanted to go to North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Needless to say, I was intrigued by the marching band at first, and so I came to a game at Old State U and seeing the marching band come in, and I was intrigued, struck away. Talked to Mr. Emery Jones at the time, that was the band director, and asked him, what does it take to get that white suit? I didn't see the black suit. I saw the white suit, which was the drum major. And then after then, went home back to Salisbury, North Carolina, to learn an instrument. And that was it, really. Winston-Salem State University was it for me on my first scene. And really, it was the family atmosphere at Winston-Salem State University that did it for me. But that was really, in a nutshell, my journey to Salisbury to Winston-Salem State University. It didn't take much for me. Unlike others, they go to other institutions. For Winston-Salem State University was a first touch. And when I came to Winston-Salem State University, it was it. It was it. But a little bit about my story. I don't know if you want me to go.
No, I want you to go into it. I want you to take the time and tell us about your story and how we got here.
All right. So when I was in Arkansas, my mother and father separated when I was about 1 year old. And so we grew up in the church. My father was a deacon when my mother married him. And so this was a family church, a little small church in Brinkley, Arkansas, where you didn't have an organ or drums. You were the musicians with a hand clap and a stump to the feet. But growing up in my early childhood, my father was absent from me. He would promise me different things and never lived up to those promises. The relationship, I'm going to fast forward to that, and I'm going to bring us back. The relationship I have with my father today, he would have never known he was absent in my earlier adolescent age. And so growing up, I've always had this mature mindset and mature mindset of what it means to be a man, what it means to be a boy, what that growth development looks like. And so as I was getting older, my mother remarried, and that man wasn't any good as well. He was a great man, but he mentally abused us through verbal talks and just saying, you would never amount to anything. You didn't have anything. Your mother didn't have anything, and all of those things. And so fast forwarding, my mother moved to North Carolina, one, to get away from him, but two, to provide a different atmosphere for my sister and I. And she then began to put all of her efforts into ensuring that we were developed. But on the other side, I was forced to grow up and to be a man at an early age. And so I don't want to knock my uncles, because my uncles were great to me. My grandfather was great to me. But I needed that male role model in the home. And so growing up, I'm going to go back a little bit, because my mother and my stepfather had a son. His name is Terrence. He was only with us for 8 months, passed away due to a skull burn. And so my life really was crushing. Everything that made me happy was either absent or was leaving me. And so at a young age, I was thinking about committing suicide. I was thinking about, God, why did you put me in a space where I don't belong? At the same time, I was following pastors. And so I had this edge of church. I needed church. I needed to be closer to pastors and leaders of the church. And the funny thing, Bishop, is as soon as I would get close enough to a man the where he would develop me and where I would see the lack and the absence that I needed, he would show me something that I didn't really need to look for. He would look at another woman, being that he's a married man. He would say slide comments about different things that I wouldn't necessarily see him preaching over the pulpit. And so I grew in this atmosphere where every man who I was exposed to disappointed me in some type of form or fashion. I'll go back to my grandfather, which I only had to spend a couple of years with him because he passed away when I was an early age. And a funny fact is I remember the only memory I have of my grandfather was him tying my shoe. And as a young age, I was untying it and he would tie it again. I would untie it and he popped my hand. I don't remember if I was crying or laughing at the time, but that's the memory that I have. But the most important memory that I have of him, and this is where I build my development theory of culture as a man. I can still go back to Arkansas right now and step on the land that he obtained without a college education, without a high school education, only had elementary education. But this man, I never, and as I hear my family talk about him, he never raised his voice to my grandmother. He always gave. He was a servant leader. He was in the church, built the church, and had an established legacy. And so when I think about the culture of manhood and developing this whole culture, especially of a Black man, it's more than just taking care of your own, but it's making sure that the village is okay. It's making sure that you have a renewed theory and philosophy of how do I take care of not just my house and my home, but how do I take care of my community? How do I live the life that I speak in church? How do I walk that? And how do I talk that? And so being able to build off of my experiences, to me, have built this culture. Going back to my father was absent in my growing up years. But when Evelyn was pregnant with my oldest daughter, something woke me up in the middle of the night. I had apologized a long time ago for talking behind his back and not being able to allow him to defend himself. And so when I called him this particular night, I said, I apologize for not giving you space to be the father you could be, not being the man that you could be. And I apologize for speaking negatively and not allowing him to have the ear to listen, nor the space to defend himself. Bishop, then he told me, he said, Alex, and I used to go by my middle name, and I'll speak some truth to that in a few minutes. But he called me Alex. He said, Alex, I didn't know how to be the father. And the thing about it is he didn't have his father in his life. So I was giving him prerequisites and expectations to do something and be something that he didn't have the capacity to handle or to do. And so now this man, he's a Jehovah's Witness. He lives in Arkansas, but hasn't missed a Christmas to spend with his grandchildren, hasn't missed a Thanksgiving, hasn't missed a birthday, haven't missed these, to me, big moments in my children's life. And so my testimony today is that if I had to sacrifice my relationship with my father at my younger years for my children to obtain a relationship that I desired and wanted, then I think I've passed the test. And so the thing about it is I honor my father because God used him as a seed to produce me. And so regardless of the wrongs, the rights, or the indifference, I must honor him. And I took that oath back in 2015 to honor my father, to honor my stepmother, and to honor that of which who had some process of developing this Black man that you see today, and my mindset to just continue to honor them. And the thing about it is my life has been enriched. It has been made whole. And I'm now producing other Black men. I am now working at Winston-Salem State University. And one of the highlights of my years is to speak to men who don't have positive relationships with their father. And the thing about it is I tell them it's not necessarily about you. You have to take your flesh and your personal feelings out of it. And you must get down to the root, because had he not been here, there would be no you. Of course, God is in the mix, but had there not been him, you would not be here. And so there must be a mode of honoring that you must do. I'm not saying that you have to love the man to death, but definitely like him and understand there may be some things that are different within your mindset, different within and who you are, different within, just the way you walk and talk, that you must get from that man to understand the identity of you. And so that was one of the things that I wanted to make sure that I did before I got married. And I guarantee you, it has been one of the best decisions of my life. But now today, I think building that culture, building this modality of culture means that we must provide this social structure, that we must go back to the past. And when I say back to the past, that's even going back to our African roots, understanding that we were engineers, that we were inventors, that we were creators, that we were kings. When we came over here, we were demoted only by verbal. But we still had the modality within our mindset, within ourselves, to understand that there is something unique about us. There's something unique about us that we can go through slavery and still stand. There's something unique about us that we can not have all the resources, but we are. We are the essential resource of the culture. And so there's something about the Black man that society knows and understands, that if we know all that we possess within our mind, within our hearts, within ourselves, within our foundational structure of self, then we would rule the world. And so my speech today, hopefully, will get Black men, will get women to talk to Black men, to understand that we are a culture within ourselves. It's no redefining. It's no renewing. We have to just dig up what's already within us and unveil what God has already given us. And so I'm here for that tonight, Bishop.
Listen, man, you done said a whole lot. We got to unpack. Jesus Christ. It's what we call unpack. Lord, you're gonna knock us off on the first thing. Listen, my daughter asked me this. I haven't. I started later. I started over, and my daughter asked me a very powerful question in the car one day, and she said, "Well, Dad, did you love your father?" And I paused at the question because I couldn't answer that question. Did I love him? And the reason why is because he left when I was 2. So we're talking about the different cultures. So he left when I was 2. And I agree with you. They were not fathers, or they weren't prepared to be fathers, or they didn't think to be fathers, or they didn't understand the concept. And so he left when I was 2. Now, I don't know how many people know what they did when they was 2, but I did not. So he came back when I was 11. So effectively, he was gone the first 11 years of my life. Okay. So he comes back, he stays maybe 4 years, maybe. By the time I'm 16, 17, he's gone again. He bounced out again on my mom. And so here it is again. I'm 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Around about 16, he was gone again. He left my mom for another woman. And then 4 years later, or 3 years later, I was in college. And I was thinking, going back in my mind, I was thinking, man, like I didn't know him. Like I didn't know him. So what you are saying is so true. But I honor him for getting me here. In fact, we make jokes about it. My sister's on here, and we laugh about it all the time, that my father was a trip, and that I have a lot of his, singing, playing, writing, all of that. Everything that you see me do, it comes from him. Now, where I don't celebrate and I don't holler and scream and say, "Oh, I love my dad." Well, I didn't know him, but I agree with you that we must honor them, even though you might just like them. You at least got to thank them for getting you into this world, and now it's up to you to make that next difference. So a question I have for you. The question I have for you, that drove you to this passion? Like, did you ever a aha moment, or is that something that you came to Winston-Salem State with, or was it that pastor thing that you spoke about? What was it that said, no, I need to change I need to do something about what I'm feeling. What was that moment?
I think it's a combination of both. When my brother passed away, that was really to me an aha moment. Those were the best academically. Now I could be, I could wear suits in school and people thought I was a honor roll, but that definitely wasn't me. But as soon as my brother was born, I made AB honor roll. I was doing well. I was more socially engaged, and when he died, it was a death of me. So it was really me understanding. My one prayer that I had to God was, God, if you can just get me connected to brothers, I guarantee you, I will be the mentor that I was, that I had the audacity. And the thing about it, Bishop, is around this age, I was probably around 7 or 8. And so, like I say, this mindset that I have today, it just didn't dawn on me when I became, an adult, or when I was in my teen years. This is who I was when I was around 7 or 8 years old. I said, God, please surround me with men who can develop me, but then that can leave something with me so that I can give. And really understanding that, I can't use the excuse that my father is not here to not be a better man. I can't use that as an excuse, because I still have an assignment on my life. And so it was that moment for me in that healing process for
Wait,
me to understand that I need to be able to release some things that God has given me as an assignment.
time out. Let's go back, because so many men and so many women use the excuse of lack of mother, lack of father, whatever that is in their lives. Let's talk a little about, because that's no excuse. You said something earlier: knowing your past, knowing your roots, knowing who you are. You are kings, you are queens, you are whatever it is, and it just see. And you said something. We are a culture in and of itself, and it's amazing how we change it. But I want you to just talk. I mean, well, wait, I'm gonna interrupt you a little bit more, because it's my show, and you saying some good stuff. No excuses because of your father. Start right there, because I want you to really lay on that, please.
So thinking about my father again, I'm going to go back to him being a Jehovah's Witness and me being Baptist, growing up Baptist. So me having to have an open mind in regards to what his lifestyle was, and even though he got us, majority of our time, my sister and I was at the Kingdom Hall or knocking at doors. And then something really rose up in me to say, okay, Theo, you got to take advantage of some of these opportunities, because this opportunity is like, talking to the Ku Klux Klan. You want to get on the inside to find out what is it that they're doing? What is it that I can possibly learn from or take from? And so understanding that the excuse, I think in 2015, when I called my father and told him, Dad, I apologize. And he said, Theo, you already apologized to me before. And I said, no, that was just my flesh, but this is my heart. God is waking me up. I have to apologize before I can bring a child into this world and name her with the last name that you gave me. I must be able to apologize and forgive and forget. And I believe my forgiveness opened up many doors.
Now, why did you do that? Why not? Because what I see or hear is he should have been the one to apologize. So it seems you've taken an higher road to a circumstance, and I'm curious as to why you felt like you needed to. Because I was just sitting there thinking, do I need to? My daddy can't defend himself, and he gone on to be with whoever the Lord. I don't know which way, because I don't have no judgment, right? I don't know which way people went. But did I forgive myself? His non-action made me a better father or a better man. And so I took my cue from him not being, and that's what I became. And so the question is, why did you feel like you needed to apologize when he the one who brought you into the world? Like, shouldn't it have been the other way around? Or give me your thoughts on that.
It's interesting because when I'm talking to my students at Winston-Salem State, I always get that. Hey, I'm not about to apologize to this man. This man has done this, that, and the third to me. And my take on apologizing is understanding that the development process of who I am, and understanding that me moving forward, I don't want to, and this is me. I apologize on what I said, on the thoughts I had, on the absence of me not being who God called me to be, based off of me moping and sobbing over the absence of a man who couldn't defend himself. And so at the point of my recognition of what God is calling me to do and my assignment personally, my apology was not necessarily to the man, but to the God in my dad, to say, I'm sorry I didn't put more faith in you. I'm sorry I didn't ask the question about your father, about your fatherhood, about the relationship that you had. And so, and the thing about it too, is my apology came from the honor. My grandmother always told me, Theo or Alex, you always have to give your dad honor. Always give your dad honor. And she embedded that into my spirit. And the one thing I did not want is I didn't want that generational curse to bleed over into my wife having this child, into me being a father. And I guarantee you, every single day, it's not a day that goes by that I not reimagine that experience of me apologizing and me. That was really a faith walk, Bishop. It really wasn't the Theo that you see. It was God waking me up saying, you must apologize because you're about to turn another leaf.
So let's get to this question then. So when you talked about this, the culture of a Black man, it made me want to ask, in your experience, and I think everybody should do that. If your father was good or bad, the onus is on you to make sure you free yourself from whatever actions he or your mom, whatever actions they didn't do. It's on you to be able to free yourself so that you can go and become great. All right. Because holding that grudge, and that's the one thing that I didn't do. I didn't hold grudges. Like it was, me and my sister laugh. And I think my brothers did hold the grudge, and they were, my youngest brother passed away, but my oldest brother, we are in two different cultures. So stay with me. And I hope I can be transparent, and I hope he don't beat me up. I might be bigger than him now. But his culture is he didn't want to have any children. He likes to party. Now he is, to me, arguably, he is the smartest of all of the children. He is the most intelligent. He is the most athletic. He was my hero. What he could do in passing, I had to do with practice. And so, but we operate in two different cultures, and I really do believe it is how we handled our father. My father's absence didn't bother me, but it bothered him, and to the point where he didn't want an offspring. I hope my sister don't get me. He smoked a little weed. No, he smoked a lot of that in Jesus' name, and he drank. And I am on the opposite end of that. I don't drink, and because I saw what it did to my father. So we're functioning in these two separate cultures coming out of the same house. And I honestly believe it's because one of us didn't let the father's absence bother him, which makes me, I want to be a better father, if you will, not just a man. But what is this culture that you're talking about? Because it was the most intriguing thing. What is the culture of a Black man? Let's talk about it. Y'all got to get y'all questions. This is good stuff tonight.
When I think about culture, I think about, the manifestation of human intellectual thoughts, human intellectual things. A school can't teach you a culture. And the thing about it is, recently, I was still trying to figure out what that culture is for me, and how do I stay within the lines, still be professional, still be liked, still be used in regards to pulled up on, be able to be in different platforms, but still be true to my culture. And my culture is not a ghetto. It's not a thug. It's not it's not outside of the lines. And I think, sometimes we as a church, we have to build what this culture is, because sometimes, I say this laughing. I'm in School of Divinity at Wake Forest now, and it's interesting when you hear people talk, especially pastors, and they talk to you, but then once they get into the pulpit, they say it's the Holy Spirit. I don't know yet. And they get into the pulpit and they have a different dialect. They have a different tone. What is our culture? Where are we? Who are we?
It ain't the Holy Ghost. I'm gonna go ahead and let you know what that is. That ain't him. I ain't even in school. I'm gonna tell you what that is. That ain't him. That ain't him. That's a part of that. Now, because you made a point about saying it, that you are not thug, right? So you're saying you're not thug, you're not ghetto, but there is a culture, if you will. And I asked this question earlier. I got to keep it 100.
Mm-hmm.
So a person will be like, "Well, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be like Theo and Williams, because I got to keep it 100. And I'm like, you created this culture over here, and then you want us to create this other culture over there. And I'm like, for the thug or the person from the ghetto, like, what can you imagine that it's topsy-turvy? We look like sellouts to the ones who are in the ghetto and who are thugged out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know what they look like to you, but when I go to the east part of town, my peace and joy is in my chair. Hallelujah, amen. The joy of the Lord is going to be my strength, because it's this whole narrative that I can't be educated, da 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 da. I got to be ghetto. It's a culture. There is an established culture, and I think it is a confusing thing, because to my audience, and I'm going to ask you this: did we identify our own culture, or are we up under someone else's identification of what we think, of what they think we should be, and we created it as a culture? Do you understand my question?
Yeah, and so to that, I think, especially now in today's world, we have veered off, and whatever we read, whatever is on the news, whatever we have seen is become our culture. And I'll give you an example, and it relates to a course that I took, which was about African eating and eating in the Black church. And when we go all the way back to Africa and look at some of the techniques of what they were eating and what they consumed, we had so many Africans who were vegetarians. We had so many Africans, and we call that a white folks thing, or I got to eat my meat and I got to do all of this. But when we look at different things, and that's why, to me, I think it is important to understand the culture of which we came from, to understand and identify who we are today, because some of those things are forever changing. It's going to forever change. My culture of me being a child to me being an adult to myself, there's some things I took. There are some things I'm not going to take in me growing up with my wife or with my children. And so I think it's really us understanding and taking enough time to have a meeting. And I always say this everywhere I go, to having a meeting about myself, for myself, to push myself in the right culture that I'm supposed to be in. And so sometimes it's about identifying and taking enough time to identify and do some research of what your own culture is, because you might be dealing with some issues that's already in your culture, and the answer is in the culture, but you haven't taken enough time to investigate.
Yeah, so here was my scenario. So, and I hope I don't get in trouble for calling nobody no names, but I got to call names, because it's gonna help me with my point. Okay, when I first meet or am introduced to 50 Cent, to Jay-Z, to Rick Ross, to Ice-T, to Ice Cube, Snoop Dogg. Okay, I'm using those because these are men, and culturally, they were one thing when they first came into notoriety. Gang banging, be this, pants down, F this, da 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 da. Now, when you look at them, it's almost as if they have decided, I'm in that, but I'm not that, because all of them, 50 Cent is behind power. Jay-Z is arguably a billionaire. Rick Ross, all these people now are on Ice-T, Ice Cube. They're actors. They literally created a culture, shifted, if you will, because they are not what they were when I was first introduced to them. And I was introduced to them from afar because I was in church when that stuff happened, but their names were there. This stuff was happening. And now to see them, they're in boardrooms. And so culturally, it seems like I'm not sure where we are in this measure of culture. And I agree with you. It is you got to define that for yourself. But I think a lot of men get lost in this. It's got to be, this is my culture versus this. And I think you need to see how people evolve. Maybe that's the word I want to talk about.
No, I think
the evolution of the culture from your mind, from your mental state.
I think that's so. As you were talking, I was thinking about my freshman year in college, and I came to Winston-Salem State University, and I was roomed, and I was very much skinnier than I am right now, but I was roomed with a football player. He was a tall football player, and I assumed that his culture was not religion. I assumed that, if I was to be seen on my knees praying, that I would be, viewed as a weak individual or not as strong or not as masculine as any other man. And it gotten to the point to where I was so pressed my first semester that, I didn't care who saw me. I was on my knees praying. I didn't care who came in. I didn't care if it was my best friend, the girl I was trying to date. I didn't care. But the thing about it is, and I think that's where my mindset is now, is when he came into the room, I didn't stop praying because I needed to hear God's voice. And I had been absent so long that I needed to hear him. The thing about it is, as soon as I stopped praying, this tall man said, I didn't know you did that. I was waiting to ask you if you did. So somebody could be waiting on you to be true to yourself and true to your culture so they can open up, so they can expound. I don't keep in contact with him now. I don't know where he is, but I believe there was something that was in the room that triggered him and myself. We started listening to gospel music. We went to church together. We did so much together. And so the thing about it is, we got to take all of the circumstances that we're in to understand that it's an assignment. I said it earlier, it's an assignment. And so even being true to your culture, being true to who you are, being true to the definition that God has designed for you specifically, it is true. And and the thing about it too is sometimes the church teaches us this, but sometimes the church don't. Of being confident in who you are, being confident in your culture. Because the thing about it is, when I was at church, I was hurt because I tried things different. I tried a haircut that everybody didn't like, and people looking at me sideways. I tried attire. And so, I think understanding, getting behind the veil and understanding that this is a free space and people have to discover who they are. And that discovery process, we can't damage them through the way we talk or the way we look to a certain person in regards to them identifying who their culture is or what their culture is.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question. You're going to take your time. I'm having some technical stuff. I'll be right back. But you're going to answer this question, and it's going to take you a minute to answer it because I'm going to answer it. And I want you to really discuss it from your point of view as a young man, and I'll come back and tell you my viewpoint.
Okay.
Has the church failed men in helping them with their identity? And how did you break? If you saw it that way, how in the world did you have enough in you to break away from it? It's going to be good, y'all. Hold on to your horses Because has the church jacked us up as men? Have we created adjutants, but we didn't create men? Have we created singers and praise and worship leaders and musicians, but we were afraid to build men? And if that happened to you, as you alluded to initially, that you found something that was different, how in the world did you have enough sense to break in it and not become what you saw?
Well, that's a big question. That's a big question. So I'll say this. I'll say, I believe, this is my personal belief. The churches that I've been a part of have somewhat failed men in the progress of men. We have put men in leadership positions. We have not elevated enough women who understand and know God. And we have taken up on ourselves to be in such a light that we believe that showcases a man to be in a right space. I'm reading a book right now by Howard Thurman, which is With Head and Heart. Understanding that men can cry, understanding that men need time as much as women need time. It's interesting to me how women ministries flourish and men ministries dwindle down, only because we feel as though we have to fit in. And so the pastor starts talking like he's not in the pulpit, or he starts talking as though things that you would never know. And to me, if you can't say it over the pulpit, then you can't say it to me personally off the pulpit. If you can't say it on the mic, you can't say it off the mic to me. And so I'm not trying to judge you, but I have already I view you as a leader, and I try to do the same thing. I don't want to be in a pew sanctified and praising God, but then on the street I'm something else, or I'm someone else. And to me, I can't lie anyway, so it's kind of hard for me. If I lie, you probably already know it, because I've already stuttered or said something that made it, sensed to lying. But I believe the men, and especially being an adjutant, I think I've been an adjutant for everybody, and who knows what, to the point to where I have, almost wrecked my car because I was following pastors everywhere they go. But I was good enough to serve you, but I wasn't good enough for you to develop me. I was good enough to follow you, but I wasn't good enough for you to call me and check on me in the spirit. And so some of the things that we look at when we talk about developing, you can preach me down, but what is your experience? What was your experience? You may have a testimony, and that's the thing. I think I ran from ministry so much because I don't want to share my testimonies. I don't want to share my stories. Some of the stories that really hurt me, some of the stories that I'm really just now getting healed from. Some of those things I don't want to share, but some of those things are important for me and important for others because it's going to pull them out. And so I believe when we look at men in church, there's a lot of development pieces to it. I don't want to be preached to all the time. I don't want a scripture. I want what did you do to get out of this? How did you get out of this? And so I think that's a part of the development process as well. But for me particularly, what really rung to me is just having some time to listen to God, having some time to really assess who I am, where I'm going, where God has called me to be, and always being pulled back to, Theo, you're assigned to do this. Theo, this is your assignment. You can't run. Theo, stop running and settle down. You may be, and it goes back to my father. I'm younger than my father, but I still healed him. It's the thing about it, through the voice of babes are coming and they have to rise up. And so you have to really identify the confidence in you. And that's what I did. Identified the confidence in me and said, Dad, we're no longer going to be like this. Dad, we're no longer going to do this. And the same thing that I'm doing now with my father is the same thing I have to do with spiritual fathers or spiritual leaders. This is how you abuse me. I remember, and this is a story that I'll share. A pastor who I was following had to sing on the praise team on the first service and the afternoon service, came to every meeting, every Bible study, every service, really doing everything I could to support this man. When I needed him, called me on a private line, blocked his number and called me. So I couldn't directly have his number. When I asked him a question, never could. And the thing about it is, so many times we can say we are church hurt, but at the same time, when God has already revealed himself or the person to you, you can't no longer say, and I go back to the excuses, we can't no longer say that I'm church hurt or I'm hurt by the church. We have to say, I put myself in that situation because God already revealed this man, his beings, his ways to me, but I fail to realize that because of the position that I'm in. And that position may be a leadership position in the church. It may be that you're a deacon. It may be that you're a minister, assistant minister, associate, whatever. But I believe you have to realize, and you have to take some time. I always say this, take some time to assess. You know, we move so fast, and the world right now is so fast. It's like clockwork. We want to put things in the microwave and be elevated tomorrow. We want to be a bishop, so we go online and do some little certification and be a bishop, but we're not qualified to handle the capacity of the title. And so some people, some men that I realized were there, they had the title, but they didn't have the capacity to handle me. The same thing, I always go back to my father. My father had me. He had a process of my being here, my existence, but did not have the capacity then to be a father to a king. And I hope that doesn't sound cocky, because I'm not trying to be cocky, but I have to understand that God gave me an assignment, and everybody can't handle my assignment, nor can everybody handle me with the assignment that God gave me.
I think that is, I mean, I really believe that is a powerful, thing. You said a whole lot, that we can preach to you, but we can't develop you, things of that nature. Because that's a whole conversation that I need to have on another day, because I think we are failing in the development. And but here is why I believe there's a fail, and we'll have another conversation maybe. People don't like being challenged. And my slogan is, if you can't be challenged, you don't want to be changed. If no one can challenge you, then you're not ready for change. Your mouth is saying it, but you really are not. And so, but if the leader is broken, then so too will be the followers.
And the
And
thing about it is, with that too, with that challenge part, I remember my first year in divinity school, I was pissed because this instructor was teaching me something that my Sunday school teacher failed to do,
right,
because he didn't want to be challenged.
right,
If I see the word, well, could you please explain that? Like we always say, unpack that for me. They
that's
don't
right,
want that, because I learned it this way. This is the way God gave me, and that's it. And I don't want no
right,
challenge.
right. And you have to be willing. I want to. I've been looking for an ab for the last like 30 years. And I thought I had it one time. I really did. I was looking for that one ab. I was just looking for one. Doggone, I know it's 6 up under there. I think you tell me you can get 8, but but I was just looking for one. I'm just looking for one ab, and I can't get it. It's just one big ab. Hey man, just a big one. Um, but what I'm finding out is you can't get that if you're not willing to be challenged. You got to pull away, push away, and somebody has to challenge you. Um, and so I think it is what you're noting. If you're going to be great, that's what you have to do. So let's get to you. You are talking to these young guys and you're mentoring, because that's what triggered me about you. I saw that you were doing some mentoring. And so, what exactly are you telling the new guys that's coming into school and about this Black culture? Because I'm like you, the band. Back in my day, it was the band. Oh my God, we had the best band. We used to smack up on the other school from the 40, and they used to be a part of CIAA, and they used to come over here, and it was just fortunate during my years we used to spank them. But the band halftime was the joint. And so you learned all these things without having a father. You didn't learn simple stuff like the value of a shined shoe, the value of your word is your bond. How, you know, and so when you're talking about these things, if you can't find that in your father, in your leader, where do you find it? And now that you're talking to these young men that are coming, some of them may have fatherly influence, some of them may not. And so what is it that you talk about in that particular thing, to help navigate them to this thing called culture? Because SU culture, A&T culture, Howard culture is different than UNC Central culture. It's different than NC State, UNC, Duke. It's a whole different way of living and approaching life that way. And my son was able to go to NC State. And when I tell you, it is like night and day in the culture. And so, what exactly are you doing to talk about that? Because I got to get to your book. Lord Jesus, I got to get to your book, man. We can talk. I like you. We can talk all night. So, what do you do when you start talking about these black men and mentoring and bringing them into?
One of the things I bring in a lot of philosophy that from other people, and one of the things God gave me an affirmation in 2008 that I use everywhere I go. It is simply, I am the young man who will change the world. I am a leader. I'm an achiever. I am successful. I'm smart. I am a college graduate. I am the young man who believes in me. I dream. I believe. I achieve. I am me. And that's where I start with them understanding who they are, them understand and being comfortable in that. And I believe the process is to tell my story. I told you earlier, I can't stand telling my story, but I always get to the point of telling my story, telling the story of when I was lost, when I didn't know who I was, when I really did not know, who this Theo is. Or every church mother said, "You're gonna be somebody one day, boy. I see it in you." And I was like, "What do you see?" I don't see it. Me really bringing my whole self into this development process, but this mentor piece at Winston-Salem State University is making sure that students see who they are. Do you know who you are? Do you know just because your father wasn't there, you're not him, and you can't be him? So you have to be stronger. You have to understand that there is something in you because you're still here. You're still alive. You can't live on excuses. And also, Steve Harvey wrote a book. It's called Jump. It's a really, really, really good motivational book that tells individuals, especially black men, to jump. You know, you have these thoughts, these brilliant thoughts in your head. You have these business plans in your head, and you're saying to yourself, I can't get it because I don't have the finances, but God gave you the dream. God gave you the vision. And so I'm pushing my males and my brothers, that's what I call them, my brothers here at WSSU, to continue to go. My biggest standpoint of why I'm back at Winston-Salem State University, an institution that developed me, an institution that really, crafted who I am today, is really about being that person who was not that person to me. And so I'm that motivator. I'm that person texting a man off the cliffs saying, no, you can do this. And the thing about it, one of the things that we all often think about is our female counterparts. They will play. Well, majority of them will do their work and then play. And our males will play and then try to fit in the work somewhere in there. And so trying to develop our brothers to understand what this is. I do believe that mentorship is a ministry. It is what we should be having in church. Every black pastor, every minister, every deacon, every member of a church should uniquely be a mentor based off of how the ministry approach should be. And what I mean by that is I'm not going to preach to a group of people and knowing there's one person that's not getting it and not reach out to that one person. I'm not going to be unreachable to the people. I'm not going to have a non-stranded approach. And what that means is I'm not going to motivate you in this session and then leave you stranded when I know you might need the help. So for instance, if a young man is dealing with porn, okay, so I know that sometimes porn is not necessarily going to be, at your interest during the daytime, at lunchtime, it may, but I'm going to reach out to you or send you a motivational message or text in the middle of the night, 12 p.m., 12 a.m., and say, hey, brother, get it together. I have you. Remember what we said. Remember the goals that you had in mind. And so my biggest thing is to hold brothers accountable while they're holding me accountable. I don't want to be the mentor that I did not like. I don't want to be the minister that I did not like. I want to be the person that individuals can be reachable at. Now, again, sometimes I have to set standards because I have a wife and I have kids at home, so I don't want to stretch myself too thin. But I have to make sure that I have motivation around me, and I have to make sure that I'm listening to the right thing, because that I'm listening to may be a motivational factor for someone who's about to come. And so I don't take anything for granted.
Here's a question right quick. So how do you feel about the culture of black men who no longer believe that they are brothers keepers or have a certain level of responsibility to black America or to the black man? I mean, how do you, because I'm with you. I'm trying to be the best that I can be, trying to make sure that I balance and I make myself accountable. I am, for those of you who don't know, and you're behind the veil, and I goof off, I don't throw my title, but I'm like, I got the biggest title that you can have in the black church, the bishop, the pastor, I'm it. And so what I have done is I make myself accountable to the people that I serve. I may not have anybody. I have a mentor that that I am submitted to, but I have more people submitted to me and my voice. And so what I've done is I've turned that commitment back to them, because if I'm if I'm doing something crazy, it affects the people who listen to my voice. So I make myself accountable, and I listen to my older saints. And so, but how do you feel about that? With people who feel like, they're gonna get it. I had to get it, because I heard that too, because that was a part of my father's culture. And that generation of people in their 60s, some of them 60s, 70s, they were like, oh, I got it. You gonna get it too. My daddy did it. Did be that way. You'll figure it out. I ain't gonna help you with nothing. And it is like that way now, where them young people don't need no help. Them young people don't want no help. How do you feel about that, and how do you address that? And then we're going to get into your book.
So I think it's important for us to give back. I believe that's sowing seeds. I think that's probably why our culture is lacking to this date, is because people are withholding the keys to success and the keys to the next level. And sometimes we are not doing that because we think we have secrets that other people are not going to get. And I feel that is limiting us from our truest potential. I believe in a God that's going to give it to us, even though they don't give it out. But I do believe that is limiting some of the exposures. And so, for example, if everyone in my family was diabetic before me and no one told me, but I love sweets and I'm going to continue to eat sweets until I become then diabetic. And I'm going to withhold that information from my children. And so my children continues to eat. And so we then build another culture that is not going to sustain us. And we need to understand that those are recipes to success. Like, those are things that we can't hide. Those are things that we can't, take for granted. I've often loved to listen to older people, only because they have formulas that I don't have to go through so many hoops and loops to get to the end result, but I have to follow what they give me. And so I think we have to get back to the old mindset, the old church mindset, where, Big Mama in the church could discipline your child. Big Mama in the church could tell you that ain't right and you need to do this. And they didn't take for granted. Even the older HBCUs, where you couldn't come into a classroom looking any kind of way, but they cared about you. And so I believe that's the true love. That is the true love in regards to who we are. That's the true love of our culture and taking care of that village. And so I believe it's important and it's imperative. Now, what do I think about them? I'm going to pray for them, Bishop, because I think, they have some things that will truly be benefiting for our culture. And I'll say this too, because sometimes, and I think this is important to say, sometimes we will limit our ears as to who tells us what's good for the culture or what's the benefiting factor. And what I mean by that, it could be a homeless person, it could be a person who don't dress like you, it could be that thug or that person who, you know, we don't necessarily see as the ideal leader. And so we have to have an ear too that is conducive to hear from all people, and we take in what's good and we leave, you know, what's not so good out there. But it's important to us to be able to have an open mind in regards to what we hear, in regards to how it's going to push our culture to the next level.
Yeah. Now, I agree with you 100%. I'm going to make a statement, and this is for all my church people. All right. And then I'm going to leave it on there. I might do a segment on it later on. All right. I ain't doing it tonight, but I'm going to tell you what a part of the challenge is. A part of the challenge in leadership, Theo, is this. I need you to be who I am. And that's where abuse comes in. I'm not who I am without you. So what I do is I make sure I keep you and I hold you and I suppress you because I need you to be. And I think you said something. We withhold keys because I think some people. I'm doing a topic. You ready for this, Theo?
I'm ready.
I want you to tune into it. I'm doing a topic, and all my listeners, I'm doing a topic on when you are called before your flesh is conquered.
That's a book.
And you're called before your flesh is conquered. And I think when you start talking about leadership and you start talking about men, the challenge is I don't need my job is to push my son. My job is not to live vicariously through my son because I failed at my vision. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And so many people withhold the keys because they failed themselves. But whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. Yeah, it's a good topic. Yeah. Called before you conquered your flesh. And we're going to talk about it. Y'all just stay tuned for Behind the Veil. I'm going to get into some real good stuff y'all been wanting to talk about. And I'm here and I'm qualified to tell it. Listen, so how do you incorporate this book? Now, this book, y'all, is bananas. He has a book out, and it is called The Award. It is the award-winning book, but his book really is called give me the title.
It's The Power in Your Posture.
The Power in Your Posture. And what he talked about, it's on Amazon. What he talked about is that when you ask for something and your posture must match what you ask. So, and how do you incorporate that into this culture of the black man? I mean, look, this dude is doing it up. He forgot to tell me, he forgot in his bio to tell us what his position is now at Winston-Salem State. What is your position?
So I'm the Associate Director for Student Development and Engagement.
Okay. Yeah. And so where did this book come from? And how do you incorporate this book, The Power of Your Posture? Some of you want to be queen. Some of you say you want a king, but your posture is not queen.
So the book was initiated when I graduated from Winston-Salem State University, went to a nonprofit organization in Salisbury, and the job that I got was a rehabilitation technician. However, I had a bachelor's degree in mass comm, and I went into this job. So basically, the job was, you were to change diapers of grown people and make sure that they were okay. But I would always wear a suit every single day. And I told the boss that, listen, I have a degree and I don't want to be doing this. And so I would come in every single day. Within 2 weeks, for me coming in with a suit on and everyone telling me to change my clothes because you need something more suitable, I would tell them, no, my posture is going to make room for me. And I would continue to say that. And through my life, my posture has made room for me. I could pray one thing, but then I could hear God saying, well, your actions are speaking differently than the request that you've given me. And so The Power in Your Posture is a book that is maintained on activating the power within you to discover the CEO of you, what you were really made for, what you were really born to be. And so, how I bridge this book into every atmosphere, I mostly use it with professional development opportunities to understand that there are some different techniques that you don't know about yourself, and different things that you haven't really stopped and paused to say, okay, listen, is my posture really going to promote me, or is my posture going to deny me from different atmospheres and different spaces that I've been called to be in? And so when we look at our posture, how is your posture? My mother, you would think she was military, but she always said, Theo, sit up straight. You're going to have this humpback. And so we never wanted to have these humpbacks. So our posture always set up straight. But at the same time, your posture told others that you were ready. Your posture told you that you have the access, and you have the power, and you have the confidence. Even though I may not be there yet, my confidence may not be there yet, but my posture tells me otherwise. And so if I can look in the mirror and my posture has identified strong, my posture has identified that I'm ready, my posture has identified that I'm equipped, maybe then the world and the earth around me will address me accordingly and say, Theo, here's the access, here's the open space. Another thing is, as I've been at Winston-Salem State University, I started out as a residential director over a residence hall. My posture gave me access to become an academic success counselor. My posture gave me access not to apply to a job, but then to create a job as the associate director for student development and engagement. And so my posture gives me access. And so I tell my young brothers that, listen, straighten yourself up, put your chest out, and understand that your posture is about to make room for you. And so, listen, if you're ready for the next change in your life and ready to adjust your posture, I would ask you to get the book and read it for yourself, because I guarantee you're going to have some adjustments in your posture, and the world is going to know it, and you're going to be in an open door that you never knew that was about to open for you.
Yo, you got to go get this book, man. I think, he's on to something. I don't even know. I forgot to ask you how old he is, but I'm not going to, you don't have to tell nobody. Let me tell you what he is. He's younger than me. How about that? By a long shot. He's younger than me, which means he has he can impact our community. He can impact it in a different kind of way. And so we've got to work on that. I want you to get the book. I want you to support him. The Power of Your Posture by Theo Chunn Jr. I'm playing. And it's available on Amazon. And I'm going to get mine, and then I'm going to go and make him sign my book and put something nice in my book. Because I think that is a key point when we start dealing with this particular thing called the culture. You got to change your posture. You are, and I think people don't understand. You are great. There is greatness in us. The problem I think we have is execution of greatness. And I think we struggle with the execution of the greatness that's in us. And I'm not sure if we're fearful. I think some people want to remain limited in whatever that culture is. But I always tell people there are three different languages for me. There is I work in this other environment that requires me to talk a certain way. I go to the east side of town, and that's a language there. And then there is a church language that I have. And so I have all of these things that's working. But I agree with you. It's the posture that we're going to have to take in order to be effective in the culture. You have the floor. Talk to me. What I got a kid that's going to college. He comes up. He's going to meet you. You're going to meet me. We're going to talk a little bit, and talk to this young man. I want you to talk to this young man that may see this a little bit later on. Um, that may be because this is on YouTube, this is on Facebook, and we have a lot of people who watch it after we get off. Uh, and so here is your opportunity. The stage is yours to establish what is it that you want to, what is your whole overarching message? And I know, can you wrap it up and sum it up with what you want to do with this black male culture and the posture? Talk to us, sir.
Yes, sir. Being a black man is something that people are trying to be every day. We have something that's unique. We are um, protectors, we are guiders, we are innovators, we are successful beings that don't really have to think too much about what we do. I would say to the young man is don't second guess your thoughts, don't second guess the ideas that God has given you, the visions. Don't second guess your place on the earth, even in spite of a thick social justice climate and injustices of black people and black men and black faces and places that we're in. Understand that your voice matters. Don't stop talking. Don't stop showing up. Don't stop being in the places that you don't think are for you. There is something in that space. There's something on the boardroom table. There's something in the courtroom. There's something behind prison bars. There's something on the streets. There's something in schools. There is something with your name on it that you must be in the space to change the atmosphere. And so stop looking at the news and telling yourself you can't do it. Stop looking at different challenges and saying, I don't want to be challenged. I'm not here for this. Understand, if I can give you, like my grandfather taught me without speaking, there is something within you, with your educated self, that the world needs. There is something within you that the world is trying to create and deliver to you. It's time for us to start delivering. It's time for us to get on board with our CEO mindsets and thoughts, with our business ideas, with our entrepreneurship. It is time for us to recognize that we have power, that we are kings, that we are royal, that we are beings that the world is intimidated by. And so we must understand and see it from a different perspective and start understanding that we are made for this moment. This is your moment. Don't quit. Don't stop. If you need someone, there's someone here to help you. Listen, log on to Facebook or Instagram and hit me up in the DM, like people say. And I guarantee you, there is motivation for you. There are brothers for you that's going to keep you, that's going to push you, that's going to maintain you. But it's your mindset at the end of the day that's going to change it all. So hold yourself up, build yourself up, poke your chest out, and tell yourself that I am made for this season, that I am the one that the earth needs, that I am the one that's going to unlock the next solution, that I am the one that's going to change the world and the perspective of others, that I will change my culture and I will be a game changer for other cultures. This is me. Tell yourself, this is me, and I'm going to do everything I can to produce excellence, to produce extraordinary manhood, and to produce the black culture that the world has been ready to see.
Man, you make me want to go back to school one more time. You make me want to be better. She talking about go to A&T. Anybody going to A&T? I'm a ram.
No one's going to A&T.
I'm going. I'm a ram till I die. Hallelujah. I'll be a ram till I die. Listen, I am so excited to have shared this moment with you. I hope my listeners got something out of this. Theo is absolutely phenomenal in what he does, and I bless God. I do thank God for his wife being able to make me make that connection between the two, and I have absolutely enjoyed myself. And I'm going to be calling on you whenever I need somebody to kind of talk to the brothers and the motivational place. Listen, everybody, please go out and get his book. Please go get his book. I think he is, yes, Marcella, good ram. I think he is absolutely doing a marvelous job, and I want to thank you for this culture of the black man. Listen, you guess what? Next week, guess what, y'all? We're gonna be talking next week about black masculinity. Is it defined? And if it is, who defined it? Black masculinity. You do not want to miss that one, dealing with the black culture and black masculinity. What is it now? Is it different now than it was back then? And who said that we were what we are? It's going to be a great, I'm tackling some crazy issues. So y'all just pray my strength in the Lord. I don't need, that's why I got to get off Facebook, because I'm subject to say something that's going to make somebody hot and they're going to excommunicate me right on off. Listen, Theo, thank you again. Listen, I got a song that I need to play for us as we get ready to get out of here. Please go subscribe to the Behind the Veil podcast on YouTube. And for those of you who would like to share, please cash app me. Cash app a brother. Yes. It's going to be good. Black masculinity. Cash out me at SL Williams for real. And we're going to get people like Theo. I'm going to have to pay him. You know, once he start getting big and start winning wars and stuff like that, he ain't going to be coming on my show for free. And so I'm going to have to slip a little something in his thing. So cash out me so I can put it over there. It ain't for me. It's for building up the Behind the Veil series. If you're enjoying it, come on, do that for me. My good friend, Facebook, we don't own this song. Doggone it. We have to put this caveat out there. We don't own this song, but it fits right where you are. And it's my good friend, Mitchell Goldsmith. He has this song that says, what you need to do is believe. You got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in your ability. You are great. You are awesome. You can accomplish it. And so he's going to take us out. This is from his project called The Bridge, and it's called Believe. I'm telling you, God's going to do it for you.
Let's see if I can help get perspective like a friend would. You got a lot going on in your home and you're driving with your family. Just hear me out. I know someone that will.
Don't leave, Theo.
Trusting with your heart and your mind and everything that you're protecting. When you're weak, it's cool because the strength is made perfect in your weakness.
Keep believing, y'all.
He's a friend of mine. Oh, he'll be a friend to you, but you first gotta believe. All you gotta do is believe. Oh, say all you gotta do is believe. Just believe.
Thank you, Charlene.
Come on, hold your head up.
Hold your head up.
Now speaking to my brothers.
Thank y'all for joining me. Thank you for joining me behind the veil. My name is Stephen Williams. They call me the Good Bishop. My guest over there, Theo Chunn Jr. He got 3 children, a wife and 3 of them. He got to go home. He's trying to hide out at the office. Join me next week for Black Masculinity. It's going to be great. I appreciate you, Jim McRaven. He's going to be our guest. All I want you to do is believe. Stay positive. Walk in the right posture. It'll open up doors for you. And watch God do it for you. You just believe now. It'll work for you. Go buy this CD. And go get good ground. If you don't have it, it's the bomb. It's working everywhere. I guess I'll need to be going, don't I? I'm trying to get to that right there. Don't let nothing take you away from believing. A better day is coming, y'all. That's what I was trying to get to. A better day is coming. Don't let nothing, I'm telling you, hold your head up. Don't you do it. A better day is coming for us. We just got to have excellence, have the right posture. I got to go. That's the part I wanted to get to. What? I got to go, y'all. Thank y'all for joining me. Our next appointed time, join me next Tuesday for Behind the Veil. And for those of you who are going to follow the good bishop, just come on in on Wednesdays and Sundays. It's worth it. I promise you. God is doing what he's doing. Love you guys. Thank you for joining me Behind the Veil. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Stop playing. Hit that notification button and subscribe. Bye, y'all.